All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Jonathan. If this is your first time finding our podcast, my wife Blakely and I own an online fitness and nutrition coaching company called Digital Barbell, helping people all over the place get in good shape. We've got a special episode for you today. We're going to be bringing back an older interview that I did with strength athlete, coach, and author Paul Horn. He wrote a book called Radically Simple Strength, a practical plan for helping average guys build awesome bodies. How cool is that title? But just because the title talks about helping guys, ladies, you can still watch and listen to this episode. There's tons of practical takeaways about building strength, building muscle, and getting rid of all the noise in the fitness space so you can focus on the things that matter. We're coming up on the time of year where there's going to be sales and specials and all that kind of stuff. And yes, we are going to have a special opportunity for you guys that are looking to get in shape and get stronger. But you're going to have to get on our email list to find out about the specials. So I'll put a link to how to do that in the description below. All right, without any further ado, let's get into my interview with Paul Horn. Okay, if you're an average guy, you are in luck. Paul Horn is the author of Radically Simple Strength, a practical plan to help average guys build awesome bodies. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
That was a great intro. Thanks for having me, man.
I actually have a few book ideas rattling around in my head to write, and this was
Don't
kind
do
of
it.
this was
Don't
kind of
do
one
it.
of the ideas. I want to talk about it that at the end, but this was like one of the books that I really wanted to write. So I think you saved me a couple of years on writing this one.
It's a stupid thing to do business wise, because you spend 2.5 years just agonizing over this thing every day. You sit down and it's just like hell.
Yeah.
And then you're done and you put it out and you're like, yeah, it's like $20. It's a
definitely
really
a long-term play.
it's a dumb way to make money. But that's not why I did it. It's
Yeah.
really like it forces you to clarify your thinking. And I had been coaching for 20 years, and I was like, I need to figure out what I actually think about this. And there's no better way to do that than to have to write it down. So
Yeah. Yeah. So that
yeah.
actually kind of brings me to the first question. Like, coaching as long as you've experienced a lot of things, everything from, mindset related stuff to programming, to nutrition, to everything. Why did you decide to distill it down to this particular topic and kind of go after this niche?
Well, I read a lot about the practice of writing, and one of the pieces of advice that everybody seemed to say was you have to talk to one person. You have to have like an avatar so you know who you're speaking to. And this rings true for any business. If you're trying to be for everybody, you're for nobody. You're just too generic. So I was like, all right, we've got a pandemic, my gym shut down. Now seems like a good time to try and write this book. And who do I want to write it for? And I had worked, my gym in Los Angeles was in an area they call Silicon Beach. So you have Google, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat. They're all like 5 minutes from my gym. And so I would get a lot of these young software developer guys. And I got interested in coaching to work with older people because I went to the starting strength seminar too. And one of the things that Ripito talks about is how an older person who falls and breaks their hip dies within like 30 days or something. Like over 60% of them. And I had a mom, she was getting up there and I'm like, oh, and if we just lift weights, then they're not gonna like, oh, this is great. Like I could do this. And so that was my goal initially with the gym, was to help people over 50. But because of the location, I got these young tech bros and I ended up really liking working with them because they had all the pieces in place. They were smart. They made a lot of money. They had nice cars. Their life, they had checked all the boxes in their life. And then they were like, dude, I really want a girlfriend.
The missing piece.
There's like, everything else is great. I'd really like to have a girlfriend. And, a lot of them were very skinny or skinny fat, and it was like this one. And because they had spent most of high school and college head down learning to code, so that they can make a lot of money later. They weren't on the football team.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was really coming to my gym was the first exposure that they had to like a weight room. And I just I just loved the journey with those guys because
Yeah.
you take a kid like that and you train him for 6 months and he gets up to like 185. And my favorite day ever, they would come into the gym 6 months, 8 months later, and they'd be like, "Hey, coach, be cool if my girlfriend like comes by and just I'm always talking about the gym. She wants to check it out." It's like, oh, like you're getting laid. Like it worked. and it was like I just loved I liked working with them, and so when it came time to write the book, I thought, I'd like to talk to those guys. I think I tell a story in the introduction where I was out at a bar just kind of looking it around, and I saw one of those guys and I thought, God, if I could make this kid's life better, and he has no idea that I can do this for him. And I wish I could just hand him something and say, just do this,
Yeah.
and just do this, ignore everything else, and I promise you, we can fix this part of your life. And so that was really the reason for writing the book. And then, of course, as soon as I published it, I start getting all these emails from women. They're like, "What the hell, man?" And and I'm like, "All right, well, let me, it's not the only book I'm going to write, but
Yeah.
this one's for them, and then we'll do another one for you guys."
Well, Mike Matthews has Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, and then he has the female version of it, which I think he calls Thinner, Leaner, Stronger, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. So
exactly.
you've just
Yeah, I'm upset that he took that bigger, leaner, stronger line because it's perfect, and I catch myself writing it all the time in marketing copy. And it's like, do you want to be bigger, leaner, stronger? Oh, I got to delete that,
another letter from Mike's lawyer.
Right.
So it
Yeah, I
sounds like
think,
you were actually at a crossroads in your gym where you were either going to have to, cater to this clientele or or actually start like an app, a dating app for these guys to help them find women who are looking for rich, skinny, fat guys.
there's only so much I can help them with, and we can definitely get them in better shape, but it's funny because that's the other part. I hadn't really thought about this, but having them also be in that gym environment with other guys who, are you get a mix. You get the nerdy guys, you get the alpha males, you get the successful CEOs, but so not only are they learning to lift weights and push themselves and do hard things, but they're also kind of getting a vibe from other guys. And it ended up, we used to have this evening session like, Tuesday, Thursday nights, and it just turned into like a bunch of guys. It was like a locker room. And I think they
Right.
learned a lot there too, so
Yeah,
it was,
learned about life.
yeah. And there's something about when you like the way you look, all the other pieces kind of fall into place.
Yeah.
And we often think that that's a superficial goal, but it really matters. You when you're it's like when you wash your car, you feel like it kind of drives better, or when you put on a nice suit, you just walk a little bit taller. Well, if you make your body you look in the mirror and you go, huh, all right, you project yourself differently. So
Yeah.
that's why it was important.
It's also an outward reflection of you being dedicated to doing the things that it took to get like that. Like when you look around at people who are grossly out of shape and obviously neglecting their health, it kind of shows you the lifestyle that they're leading and the level of discipline that they exercise in their life on a day-to-day basis. And when you take a guy from being out of shape, small, overweight, weak, all that kind of stuff, that's a hard journey to go through. And if you get to that point, other people recognize that I've tried before. Hey, that person like is willing to put in the work.
Yeah, it is being in good shape is an indicator of good health, usually, or I mean, if you're juiced up on steroids,
Yeah. Or
but in
better
the
living
middle
through
part,
pharmaceuticals.
yeah, there's always the extremes aren't necessarily healthy, but if you're
Right.
above, and that was the line in my book. Like, I'm not trying to make anybody a bodybuilder. I don't want to coach competitive powerlifters anymore. There are better people to do that. I'm interested in taking a guy from like below average to above average.
Yeah.
I don't want the gym to be your entire life. It's not, you're going to burn out, or you're going to be really awkward and antisocial because all you do is talk about the gym. And when you're on a date, no, like she
Yeah.
doesn't care about your deadlift. So
Right.
the gym and fitness and strength training should be a part of your life. And it should make the other things in your life better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's really what we're trying to get out of this.
Yeah. The intro to our podcast says that your fitness and nutrition should enhance your life, not take it over. I think that's
Yeah,
what
and
you're
that was
saying.
a big shift, because in the 90s, the gym was the activity. Like going to the gym was like it was this culture. And then CrossFit came out, starting strength came out, P90X came out, and it shifted the sort of the culture to
Mm-hmm.
it's actually not about going to the gym. It's about using your time in the gym to make the rest of your life better.
Yeah,
And that
that's a
was a
great
big
point.
it was a big shift. And it really like people don't give P90X enough credit. Like this was Ripito pointed this out to me a long time ago, but they were the first fitness product on TV to spend millions of dollars spreading the message that like fitness is like getting in shape is hard. You're going to sweat, it's going to burn, your muscles are going to be confused or whatever, but it's not the thigh master. You don't it's not, 5 minutes a day and it slides under your bed. It's like
Yeah.
this is you got to work. And that helped change a lot of people's minds right at the same time CrossFit was coming out and saying, look, this is about functional fitness. It's so it was it's I was just writing an article about this, but everything's cyclical. And
Mm-hmm.
fitness is no exception. So you have, when I got into this, it was all bodybuilding. It was T Nation and, Arnold's book and it was just all about bodybuilding stuff. And then CrossFit came out, starting strength came out, powerlifting went through this total, resurgence in popularity. And it became about like, hey, I don't really care what I like. I care about what I can do. I care
Mm-hmm.
about my deadlift. I care about how much I can squat. And now about, I don't know, 5 years ago, it started to shift back the other way, where
Mm-hmm.
people are and now you see, yeah, machines aren't all that bad. Like
Yeah.
maybe there's a place for doing some ab work and and that's how this works. You swing one way and then the pendulum swings all the way the other way and then it kind of meets in the middle, which is where we are now. You see a lot more people getting back into bodybuilding,
Yep.
primarily because all the powerlifting people got fat and hurt.
Well, and the high
I'm
level
speaking from
CrossFitters all
experience.
look like bodybuilders too.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, speaking from experience, it was like, okay, like I'm I can't bend over and tie my shoes without my face turning red. I've
Yeah.
had 3 shoulder surgeries and I look like shit. So like maybe we need to fix something
Something's got to
here.
give.
Yeah, and that really was the inspiration for the book in some way because I felt like there was a gap in the market in terms of a lot of my clients were saying we would sit down for a consultation when they came to the gym and they would be like, yeah, I want to get stronger, but I don't want to look like you. And I thought initially they were thinking, or I was thinking, oh, you mean like, just like too muscular, like too
Mm-hmm.
like too jacked, too intimidating. And then I saw a photo of myself and it was like, oh no, I'm just fat. Like because you don't notice it. Like I don't know how big you've gotten in your career, but you don't, it creeps up on you
Yeah.
and you
Especially
realize,
during the novice linear progression phase of the newbie's strength gain.
yeah.
That's usually, and you talk about this a lot in the book, how that's a time to dedicate to getting stronger, but it's pretty easy to get fat during that stage.
Well, yes. And, we, if there's one thing that I appreciate, excuse me, more than anything about Ripito and starting strength, and I am a starting strength coach. They're the reason I was able to build a successful gym. Like and he is incredibly consistent with his message.
Mm-hmm.
He knows about diet. he knows about fat loss. He's not, he's been doing this for over 40 years, but his message is, if you're a young man, you need to get bigger and stronger. And he just hammers that home. And he's right for a lot of people, but some guys take that too far,
Yeah.
so that was the battle that I had in my gym, which again pointed out that like maybe there's a gap here, because my clients would come in and I was pure starting strength. Like, we're in the early days of the gym, like, we're going to run the novice linear progression and you need to drink a gallon of milk. And I don't care. And they would say, I feel like I'm getting kind of fat. And I was like, I don't care. Your deadlift is, like, I would ignore them. And that's a real good way to lose clients, because they'd be like, you're ignoring me, so I'm going to quit. And now you're looking at the business and you're thinking, okay, maybe I should actually listen to what they're saying. And they're right. If they would, you can take it too far. Not everybody needs a gallon of milk. Not everybody wants to be a competitive powerlifter. And so you have to balance the business, like, listen to what the client needs with what you think they should do and help them achieve their goal, right? In any successful business. And so it became, okay, maybe we're going to back off me hammering them about how important it is that they can pull 500 pounds if they don't really care. And I'm hearing more and more people talk about wanting to lose some body fat, and like, let's do that. Of course, I had to lead by example, because I was 252 and not
Wow.
lean. Yeah, I mean, when I was competing in powerlifting, that was and Rip wanted me to be 275. So I would give them advice about fat loss, and it would just be this glazed look on their face, like, okay, like, why would am I going to listen to you about this? Like, you're fat. And so I thought, and there's another little, so I don't know if you ever went on the Starting Strength forums, but they used to be very, very active, right? And one of the things was the training logs. So people would they would log all their workouts on this old V-Bulletin style form. And one of our coaches was a statistics professor. And as a fun exercise for his students, he had them go through and like log all the coaches' training logs, like pull all the data and analyze it.
I remember this.
And he gave us this report that just showed where all the coaches stacked up, and it was fascinating. And I was like, all right, so where's my name in terms of strength? And it was just dead center. Like, I was the middle guy, right?
Yeah, it's because you didn't get to 275.
Right. Yeah, maybe. Probably that's what Rip would say. But you had, Feigenbaum and Jillian at the top, and Reynolds, and then and so I thought, okay, I'm 252 and fat. I'm never going to be the strongest starting strength coach, so I'm not going to be able to be like, I'm the strong guy. So what else could I do? And I thought, well, maybe I could lose all this body fat, and I could see if, I could carve out a little, maybe I could be the guy you go to if you want to get leaner. And I didn't know if I could do it, but I'm like, let me figure this out. And I did. And so I cut down to 10% body fat, and it took way longer than it should have, but I was fumbling around trying to figure it out. And then the clients started compliment, like, oh, what do? You look great, and then I started getting those consultations where people were saying, actually, I do want to look like you. And I thought, okay, so now we're on to something here. And so it started with, anytime a client, we'd put them on the novice progression for 3 or 6 months. And the moment that they came in and said, I feel like I'm getting a little fluffy, we're cutting. Like,
right.
I don't care about your squat anymore. Like, let's cut. And they stayed longer, and they were happier, because they felt like, they were being listened to. And then they felt like they not only got stronger, but they looked like they lifted weights. And that was really the early inception of like the idea for the book. Is like, nothing in Starting Strength talks about fat loss, but that's not the point. The point of the book is this is how you get stronger. And it's a perfect explanation of how to do that. But then if you want to get leaner, well, then you go to Mike Matthews, or you have to leave the starting strength world to find that answer. And I thought, well, what if I could just, here's what I've been doing in my gym for the guys that want to transition to like a fat loss thing, or a more aesthetics focused approach to, it's a cringy word, but
It's all right.
to barbell training. Like, so let's take a couple months, get big and strong, and then let's cut off all that body fat. And then we just do that forever. You just go
Yep.
through cycles of bulking and cutting. Like, that's one of the things that the bodybuilders were right about, is it's just bulk and cut, cut, right? But just to circle back, Rip is absolutely right in the sense that, and I think there's another coach that I heard this from, so I'm stealing this, but they said, if you want to walk around as a jacked 35-year-old, you have to spend your 20s getting as big and as strong as you possibly can and not worrying about body fat, because that's when you grow, when it's easy to grow, when you're young and you've got ridiculous amounts of testosterone. Just, yeah, get up to 275. If you wanted to maximize this journey, do it. Rip's right about that. And then because if you're 275 and you're squatting, 500 and pulling 700, and then you decide to cut, you're going to look ridiculous. You're going to be right. But the problem that so many guys face is they want everything all at once, and they want both, so they want to do both at the same time, and they never accomplish either one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think might have been you who posted something recently, or I can't remember, but the point was, it kind of fit into where I'm at with my physique. Like, if I want to look good with a t-shirt on, I need to be 170, 175 pounds. If I want to look good in the summer with my shirt off, I need to be 160 pounds. So how do you strike that balance? And it's kind of going through the cycles that you talked about. That's the approach that I take.
It's the curse, man, because if I had to cut to take a photo for the cover of the book, or the back cover of the book, and all my marketing stuff. And, so I had to go back down, and most of the time I just felt small and weak, and my joints hurt, and I was miserable because I couldn't have any alcohol. I wasn't eating anything. And, and then the only time if you're a natural guy, the only time you're going to like the way you look is right after your workout, when you have a pump that lasts 20 minutes. You'll be like, okay, all right. Which is exactly when I took the photo. It's like literally you're like doing curls, and then you're flexing, and you snap the photo, and you think like, okay, I look decent in that. But then
you deflate.
If I took the picture 20 minutes later and just relaxed, I would look like, does this guy even work out? Like, you know what I mean?
That's so true.
Yeah. Or you'll like the way you look at the beach or the pool with your shirt off, because when you're lean and you have abs and you don't have a shirt on, it gives the illusion of size, right? But the rest of the time, they're going to be like, you coach barbell training? Like, seriously? Like, the flip side to that is, so right now, I'm back up. It's winter bulk time. So I'm back up to like 230. I think I took the photo at 197, and now I'm 230, which is my normal kind of comfortable. I can eat whatever I want and enjoy my life. And you look better in a t-shirt. You look, your upper body looks more defined, and you look like a bigger dude. Then when you take your shirt off at the pool, they're like, you don't have any abs. Like, you just look doughy. And
who caught your winter coat?
Yeah, you can't win. So the answer is steroids. You just take steroids, and then you can have both. And that was the point of my tweet, is like, that's why.
I don't remember seeing that in the book. Where is that?
That's the next book. That's we're going to be, turns out, guys, it's going to be a PDF.
It's the Liver King plan.
Oh God, those were beautiful emails, man. That guy thought that whole thing through.
He's a disturbed guy.
I mean, So many of people who are popular influencers are, there was an article someone linked to, I forget, but it was about the fact that most popular people that get a lot of traction online are just like these extreme, I think they call it like extremophiles,
Hmm.
where they're just like all in on this one thing and everybody goes with them because but they're not normal, because normal people are balanced and they do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But it's like, no, you got to be you got to be Huberman and just like, I'm going to give a 2 hour podcast on water. It's like, okay. And here's 46 supplements you should take before you go to sleep. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
but people, everything's too easy now. We have too much free time. And so they're just like, I'm going to wear a continuous glucose monitor and a sleep tracker. And I'm just going to obsess about like I wake up, I go, I don't know, I feel okay. I guess I slept enough. And,
I woke up.
and if I drink half a bottle of whiskey, I don't sleep that well. So maybe I should,
Right.
but
Well, that's really the important thing, and like the awesome part about your book is that it's not about the extremes. And some people will probably read the book and be like, it's got to be more complicated than that. Show me the real deal. Like,
yeah,
but
what's the magic? What's the one weird trick?
what is
They
yeah.
Yeah, but
Nope.
that's why I'm not selling like, a ton of books. I mean, it's doing fine and I'm happy, but it's because I'm not like, this is the one magic thing, because that's bullshit. It doesn't
Well,
work.
the one magic thing is in the application consistently of the basics in this book. That's the part that people really struggle to do.
Yeah,
But
it's hard.
distilling it down to the basics makes it more likely somebody will stick to it. Well, so let's kind of get into
Yes.
some of the specifics of the book and kind of talk about what the plan you lay out in there is. And I do want to point out, like, even though this book is written for men, and there's a lot of things in the book that divide men up into categories and give them starting places and landmarks and things like that. The principles of building muscle, getting lean, getting strong, all that stuff still applies to women. So about half of
Yeah,
our
and in
listeners are
fact,
women.
I'm working on I didn't expect the response from women who actually bought the book, and it's been great. So I am working on a supplemental PDF to just with minor adjustments for the nutrition plan and the workout programs to take what's in because you're right. The actual tactics apply to everybody. I mean,
Right.
the food amounts in the nutrition plans are for men, but that's you can. But the overall message and the programs and how it works, it would work for literally anyone. So,
Yeah.
but I am working on that, so it'll be up on my website, hopefully a month,
Okay.
for the month. But anyway,
Cool. So,
what do we want to?
all right. So let's and we'll kind of talk about what the three main steps of going through this are, and how people kind of mess it up and how we can avoid that. And I wish, I'm 44 right now. I wish I had found this book when in my 20s, because I completely missed out on an entire decade of building that base. For me, it was like built that base in my mid 30s, if I'm being honest, and I'm just now,
Yeah,
reaping the benefits of that. So some guys listening to this right now and they're in their 20s, you're in luck. Listen up. so
yeah, yeah. I
so
mean, I like I said, I wrote the book. I wish I had
yeah, exactly.
back in the day.
Okay, so a lot of people don't get the results that they want because they skip the very first step that you talk about in the book, which is getting stronger. Why is strength so important, and why does it have to be the base of this whole thing?
Well, strength is force production, right? Your ability to lift. I mean, and it's tied directly with muscle growth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want your muscles to get bigger, they have to get stronger. They have to produce more force. This is why, you know, going for a walk doesn't make your legs big. It's not heavy enough.
Mm-hmm.
So if the goal, whether your goal is I really want to be strong, or whether your goal is I want to be jacked, the way that you reach that goal is the same, which is you have to get your muscles stronger. So there, I guess the inverse would be there's no way to get bigger and put on lean tissue without getting stronger. So that's where we start.
It
Is
sounds
it
obvious
just
to you, but a lot of people skip that and they just go into the gym and, grab some light dumbbells and do 1,000 reps. Since obviously high volume is
And
what makes your muscles grow.
it makes them sore,
That's
but
air quotes there.
yeah, it, and the thing is, for an untrained individual, anything will work. That ineffective program will work for a while, but
Mm-hmm.
at some point it has to get heavier. We're trying to force an adaptation here. And so if we know that, like, I remember talking to my dad, because he's in his 70s, but he was telling me, like, yeah, I go to the gym 3 times a week and I bench press 95 pounds. And I said, every time? And he said, yeah. I said, have you
That's
ever
my
tried
routine.
100? Yeah. He said, what about 100? He's like, no, I do 95. I'm like, well, we know you can do 95. So how about we try? Just didn't compute that
Yeah.
it needs. So if you have to increase the amount of force you're requiring your muscles to produce, it means the easiest way to do that is lift more weight. Right now, if you're doing sets of 20, it's a really inefficient way to do that, because it's a lot of, you're primarily working muscular endurance at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So we start with just the basic tried and true sets of 5. Let's just do 5 reps. We'll pick the most bang for your buck exercises for a novice: squats, presses, deadlifts, throwing some chin ups, and we're just going to add weight every time you go in for as long as you can. It's a classic novice progression. Bill Starr did it. Ripito made it real popular, and I'm just stealing Bill Starr's program, kind of, mostly for the beginning, which is 5 sets of 5, but ascending in weight, because it's real fast. And so it's just a 2 or 3 day a week program: squat, bench, deadlift, squat, press, deadlift, and you go up. You take your top set up 5 pounds every time for as long as you can, and that usually lasts about 3 to 6 months
Yeah.
for the average guy. And then we move on to more fun stuff.
Yeah.
Then we start, but you got to build that foundation, and part of it is learning how to push yourself, which is one of the things so many guys don't know how to do. I mean, I've been training for 20 years. I kind of just figured it out: how to grind, how to unrack a bar and have it scare the shit out of you, and go. And instead of going like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, and then just like going to the bottom of a rep and bailing because you gave up before you even started the rep, which I
Mm-hmm.
used to do all the time. And I see clients do it. I'm like, you quit on that before you even took it out of the rack.
Yeah.
But but there's some point where, when you do it long enough, you unrack that bar and you feel that weight on your back and you feel the fear, and you go, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's go. Like, that's how you think this is going to go. Like, and and it's fun. It's fun
Yeah.
to, because, and so learning to do that and to grind on reps and to push yourself through the discomfort, which is all this is. It's like, let's find day one in the gym is, let's go in and find a weight that makes you a little uncomfortable. And then the next time we're going to go a little heavier and a little
Right.
heavier. And you're doing that for 20 years,
Yeah.
right?
It's
But
true.
learning how to do that is really, I mean, that starts in the novice phase. It starts on day one, and it takes. So this is, I've said this a million times, but yes, this is about making your body stronger. But
Mm-hmm.
man, does it do a number on your brain, in terms of, I wrote this in the book. Like, I am no Navy SEAL. For most of my life, I felt like a pussy. Have you ever met like an active duty, like, special forces guy? You just can feel it. They walk into the room and you're like, okay, this is the alpha male of
Right.
him. Whatever he's got, like, I don't know where that came from, but damn, it's palpable.
Right.
And it's like, it's primal. Like, okay, I'm now the low ranking male in this group,
Yeah.
and it feels shitty, right? Because you're like, how do I do that? And there's all these books and there's all these bullshit, on Twitter. It's these masculine testosterone, like, women hating red pill, these communities of like,
Really?
it's, you go down a dark hole in terms of in that world with men, right?
Wow.
But that's what they're looking for, is they're trying to get a taste of like, how do I move up this hierarchy, you know? And
You get
I
strong.
mean, obviously, I know that, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and I'm a barbell coach. So I think this fixes every problem in the
Right.
world. But man, I can't think of another. I think Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is is a similar thing in
Hmm.
that you get in there and you have conflict and you have to actually throw down with the guy, and that can have the same. But in terms of ease of application, and to have to go into the gym 3 times a week every week and test yourself in a very controlled environment with a little bit more weight over, and then you take that and compound it over a lifetime, it makes you tougher. It makes you I am way more mentally strong than I would have been if I had never gotten into this.
Amen.
And yeah.
I can think of some, like, I remember when I was starting to get to those places where you unrack the bar and you're like, huh, am I going to be able to get back up? After I let this thing lower me down, like that confidence after you do it. I can remember walking into like concerts and things like that, social situations, and kind of looking around the room and be like, okay, if things go wrong here, I feel like I can, be a leader in this circumstance and help people
Dude,
get to safety.
I'll tell you something. And so the other night, I I set a PR for my squat for a set of 5, right? I think it was like 410. I'd done it for like a triple, but I'd never done 410 for 5. And I don't know, I just had it that night. I've been
Yeah.
working on it for a couple weeks, and it just went. And I think it was actually when I was doing that little back and forth with Will,
Uh-huh.
when we were just talking shit to each other on Instagram. But it was like, okay, I want to post this and throw shade at Will. So I turned the camera on, and
Yep.
it sort of motivated. But then we went out to dinner that night, and I remember I got up to go to the bathroom, very nice restaurant, and I'm looking around this room, and I'm just kind of scanning all the guys, and I look around and I go, now maybe I'm wrong, maybe there was a power lifter in there and I just didn't see him, but I was like, I'm probably the only guy in this room that could do that
Yeah.
right now. And it felt good. Like you feel there's a confidence that comes with it, and a calmness,
Hmm.
having really tested yourself. And I remember this when I used to do jujitsu. Going into the class, I would be very nervous. Walking out of the gym at the end of the night, you have this relaxation of like, nothing, nothing phases me. That thing I was worried about at work, it's not a big deal, because
Hmm.
I just dealt with some real shit, and getting under that bar and doing that, it's like, however stressed I am before I go into a workout, however much I don't want to do the workout, it I feel, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, if you train, this.
Yeah.
It's completely different afterwards. You're
Yep.
just this sense of well-being, even if it didn't go that well. At
Oh yeah.
least you got in there and you tried. And that, going back to, what we were talking about earlier with just helping these guys, these young men, improve their dating life. It's like, you can read all the bullshit books, ebooks you want about faking confidence, but you're really going to learn about yourself going through the process and doing something hard and sticking with it and then seeing the results. It's like, it just changes your whole mentality.
Yeah.
And
I read a
it's not
book.
like meathead stuff, it's real.
It's
I
real.
can't think of a more powerful psychological, therapy is good. Some people need to go to therapy, but I'm sure you feel the same way, and I'm sure your wife feels the same way, which is, in the absence of this regular dose of stress in my life, man, I'm sure I would be on an antidepressant or something, or some
Yeah.
anti-anxiety medication, you
Yeah.
know?
There's physiological reasons for that too. Um,
Yeah.
you made me think that, I read a book last year or earlier this year called Do Hard Things. And talks
Is that
about like
Brad?
Magnuson, I think his
Oh,
name was
Steve
Steve
Magnus
Magnus.
and
Yeah.
Brad Stolberg, something like that.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the whole point of the book was you don't build the confidence to do hard things by doing these pump yourself up machismo motivational quotes kind of thing. You build confidence to do hard things by being prepared to do them in the first place and then actually doing them. It's like this
Which is
self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's what barbell
yes,
training is.
and this craze with this David Goggins style, like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what that guy did is impressive for sure. But I remember listening to one of the first podcasts he was on. I think he was on Rogan or something, talking about, yeah, I had never run before in my life. And then I decided to do a 24-hour marathon and I was pissing blood. And I was like, dude, that's just dumb. Like, how about you go run a mile and then 2 miles? And why do you have to do this? Now, maybe he needed that to jolt himself out of this place in his life, but that's terrible advice because
Yeah.
not many people are going to do that. They're not going to, and then they're going to be like, well, I couldn't do the marathon, so I
Yeah.
just forget it. It's so much better to just have a little goal. And that's in the book. I talk a lot about setting realistic expectations,
Yeah.
and and I was just on a call the other day with a new client, and he said, so when is this working? Like, when does this work? Because I've been doing this for a month. And I'm like, okay, this is like, if you don't, that's the one thing about what we do is you can't buy a 500-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
You can't grease the palm of the bouncer and get a 500-pound deadlift. You have to show up and put in the work. And that's why you get the benefit,
Yeah.
right? Of learning to do that hard stuff. So,
Yeah. The old conversation on expectations at that point. Andy Baker said something funny one time when he was on the podcast about, somebody asked him like, well, what's the bridge to get to, a 500-pound deadlift? And he's like, well, it's the 495-pound deadlift and the 490-pound deadlift. It's the process of going through all the steps that it takes to get there. There is no shortcut. And that's why like starting, the book and this plan for people at getting stronger is so important, not only for the physical benefits you're going to get, but you're going to need all this mental toughness you're building in this stage to stay consistent with everything through to the end.
yeah. And that's real. But the thing is, and I want people to know that, is that it's not, you don't have to have it when you start. You don't have to go, if you train in a public gym and you see the dude pulling 700 and he's just ripped, and you just look and you're like, I'm so far away from that, I'm never going to get there. It's like, no, you just start. You just start small and you let it compound, and there's a tipping point. I knew if I could get, so as if you've done any type of linear novice progression, the beginning is fun because you're new and you're learning a new skill, and every time you go up in weight, it like every workout you add 5 pounds and every day's a PR. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, cool, and my body's changing, and it's like, this is fun. The end of the novice phase, it's like you're laying in bed at night thinking, if I don't go to sleep right now, I am not going to get my deadlift. I don't, how many grams of protein did I have yesterday? I don't, and you're thinking about your evening workout all day. And you're just, and all the reward you get for getting in there and dealing with that anxiety and grinding out the rep is that you get to go up 5 pounds next time, 2 days later. And
Right.
that's the time when I would lose clients
Yep.
because they're like, this isn't fun, man. I dread every workout. I don't feel good. My knees hurt, and I feel like I'm getting fat. And what? So I can just press again and put 2 pounds on it.
Yeah.
But if you can get them to that next phase, if I could get them through the novice phase, and we always ended a novice phase with a testing day where it would be like a little mock powerlifting meet. Okay, this is what you could squat on day one, and now we're going to test your deadlift and we're going to test your 1 rep max. And oh my God, they loved it.
Yeah.
They're like that because you see it. They're like, oh, this actually, because now they're only doing 1 rep and they're moving. I squatted 3 plates. I squatted 4 plates. I deadlifted 4 plates. Like, and then you're out of that grindy novice phase and into intermediate land. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where things get a lot more fun. So, my goal, a lot of people were asking about this novice phase versus the starting strength novice phase and whatever. And my goal with the novice phase in this program is I want to get you to the intermediate phase
Yeah.
as fast as I can. And maybe we're going to leave some gains on the table. Maybe if we had run the starting strength linear progression and you had drank a gallon of milk, you'd tap out at 365, but you're going to tap out at 315 and we're going to switch to the intermediate, but you're not going to burn out.
Yeah.
you know
The thing about the end of the starting strength novice linear progression is, unfortunately, the only thing waiting for you at the end is the Texas method with even more torture.
right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like, oh, okay, well, now what we're going to do is we're going to take what you've been doing for 3 sets of 5, which you're totally beat to shit on, and we're going to do 5 sets of 5.
right.
But
Oh, we're
here's
also
the
going to
thing.
squat another time.
Yeah, here's the thing. That program works.
It does. It got me
That
through a
program,
plateau
that
after my
that
NLP.
program, yeah, and it sucks. And Rip will tell you, it's for a very specific person. It's for a lifter. And if you have clients, like, who the lifters are.
Mm-hmm.
These are the guys who, this is their deal. They're gonna do what you say. They're gonna sleep. They're gonna eat. They're gonna train. They're gonna log everything. They're never gonna miss a workout, and they're motivated. I don't work with a lot of
Yeah.
lifters. I work with real people who want to be a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, not fat, and not hurt.
Right. Carbon copy of our client right there.
Yeah, and so that's really that's what the book was for. It's like, I want a book for guys that are like, I actually don't really like working out that much. Because
But I
think
want to
about
be
it,
a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit
yeah,
leaner.
like, I want to check the box that says I worked out today, and I didn't waste my time in the gym.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
made productive use of my time in the gym, and that's really who I was targeting. Because you have to keep in mind that, like, most fitness people who work in fitness who've made a career out of it, they actually love it. They know, like, they don't hire coaches. Like, you might hire a coach for a form check, or you might hire a coach to do a program for you. But most normal people hire coaches because they're not motivated to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go, well, if I pay this guy, then I'll have to go. And then that'll get me motivated. Right. And that's normal people.
Yeah.
But most of the coaches that put stuff on Instagram and put out all this content, it's like they weren't ever that guy. They always loved it. And so all the advice that they're giving is like, they forget that the person they're talking to is, like, kind of lukewarm on this whole fitness thing.
I can
Like,
take
yeah,
it or leave it.
I'd love to have abs and everything, but, like, this is a lot, man.
As soon
And so
as
that's, and,
as soon
and
as they
I
come out with a
talked,
pill for this, I'm in.
oh yeah, they're not like, I don't love barbell training. I just want to, like, get laid. So, and I've always, that's been my disposition. And one of my best friends and former, one of the coaches at my gym that I hired, we were like right on that same wavelength where we used to look at each other, and he would just, he'd be squatting like 550 for a set of 5. And he'd rack the bar and he'd be like, do you like this? Like, do you even enjoy it? And I'm like, no, I don't. But like, but what we agreed on was that as much as we don't like lifting, we dislike how we feel when we don't lift even more.
Yeah.
So if I miss a couple workouts, I start to feel lazy and
Mm-hmm.
fat and I don't like it. So that's the
Yeah.
motivation to train, is really to avoid that feeling, not because I'm like I have to lift tonight. I don't want to do it. I would so much rather do other stuff. Like, I don't want to do it at all, but I'm going to do it,
Yeah. That's called discipline
because,
too.
yeah. And so I wanted to talk to those guys who are like, what's the minimum intervention that we can do to help you solve this problem, where you don't, you could look better and you could be stronger and happier, but, like, how can we do that in a way that isn't, that you'll do?
Yeah, it doesn't take over your life, and that you'll do.
Exactly. And still right. And not have it be bullshit. Not have it be some, you know, snake oil or
Yeah.
some ebook that promises you like, no, these are actual strategies that work, but let's lay them out in a way that you're not going to hate your life. Right. And
Get
so
big and shredded using only one kettlebell.
yeah, right. So let's get into let's do the hard thing and lay the foundation in the novice phase, and let's go into the intermediate phase and let's balance the hard stuff with the fun stuff. Let's do our squats and deadlifts, but let's do our curls. You
Okay,
know,
yeah.
because you're gonna
Let's get into some of the fun stuff then. So we're strong. Let's move on to phase two, getting bigger. How are we going to get bigger with our avatar, which in the book I believe is called Nate?
yeah, Nate was the guy in the bar that
Yeah.
the little doughy dude that I just wanted. And God, man, you just see him everywhere.
Oh
Once
yeah.
I saw him, I was like, oh God, these guys are everywhere, and
So
like
much
they
potential.
just so much like oh, it's just you want to grab them and just be like, just come on, man. Well, getting stronger and getting bigger are intertwined. So
Mm-hmm.
phase one is get bigger and stronger, right? That's really, and so that can extend into the intermediate phase. I break it down where it's like if you're an underweight male, you should try and gain 20 pounds. And if you're a kind of skinny fat average guy, you should hold steady. And if you're or gain 10 pounds, through the
Mm-hmm.
novice phase. And then if you're an overweight, you got a lot of body fat, just try and hang tight. Because if you're 260 and you have a high body fat percentage and you just stay there and lift for 6 months, you're going to weigh the same, but you'll be able to tighten your
Yeah.
belt three
You're gonna
notches.
recomp.
And then we get into the second phase, which is actually fat loss.
Yeah.
Now that you've built this foundation, let's figure out how to cut off that body fat and show people that you actually lift weights. And
Yep.
that, yeah.
And
So
most people like, I don't know most people, but a lot of people skip to fat loss in the skinny fat phase right off the bat. They don't ever lay the
yeah,
base.
yeah. I just having a conversation with. I mean, this is the conversation that's as old as as long as I've been doing it. It's the same thing, which is, do I cut first? I feel like I should cut first, and it's like, okay, you're 165 pounds, you have zero muscle mass, and you want to be 10% body fat. So you're gonna weigh like 135. You're gonna look like you belong you're coming out of a concentration camp. Like
You'll
it's
probably
just
break
emaciating.
during your strength training.
Yeah.
You'll just break in half.
Yeah. You can't, it's not gonna work. But they don't want to get so body composition, as you know, is lean muscle and fat, right? So we can skew that by losing fat. We can also skew that by gaining more muscle tissue. So it's really important that in the beginning, I almost never advise someone just starting out to cut, because the skinny guy doesn't need to cut and the average guy doesn't need to cut. If I have a guy who's over 300 pounds and bordering on diabetes, like, yeah, we need to cut. Like, and that guy can get stronger and build
Yeah.
muscle while he's cutting because he's a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
But most guys need to spend a couple, half a year building before you have anything worth showing off.
Yeah. So we're talking about a nutrition conversation here. So what are the main things that our avatar needs to focus on with their nutrition as they're as they're in the novice phase trying to build some strength and muscle, and then how does it change? What do we focus on as we start to get lean and show off the spoils of our efforts?
Yeah. So my thing with everybody is, I mean, it's not my thing. It's protein. We need protein. That's what builds your muscle. So if we're going to do baby steps with the client, it's like, you just need to eat more than enough protein to make this worth your time. And that's another common, if a guy shows up to the gym, I can make sure he works out. I can make sure he lifts, but I charge a lot to come to your house and force feed you protein, right? And they that's and those I would say the protein is even more important than the lifting. It's like if you're gonna bust your ass in the gym 3 days a week and you're gonna eat 150 grams of protein, we're gonna make 3 weeks of progress and you're gonna hit a brick wall. It happens all the time. And they're like, this program isn't working. It's like, have you gained any weight? No. In fact, I lost a pound. It's like, okay. So,
It's hard. It's hard to convince
yeah,
people the importance of their
yes.
nutrition.
The food is the hardest part of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's not fun. It's boring, right? Eating a bowl of beef and rice 2 or 3 times a day is boring. But you have to, it has to be, we follow a workout program and then people go like willy-nilly they just go by feel with their food. It's like you need a workout program and you need a meal program. And the workout program is real boring and basic, and so should the meal plan. So that's why that was the controversial part of my book. And the part that I was the most nervous about writing was the nutrition section, because I mean, you read it. So it's like we're not even going to talk about calories. These are the meals. There are 4 meals, right?
I thought it was an interesting approach you took, for sure.
Well, because the other thing doesn't work in my experience. Where it's like, okay, we're going to allot you 3,000 calories and here are your macros, and then you can just take any approach you want to hitting those macros, and there's a million different foods that you could put together, and it's like overwhelming.
Food
and
Tetris.
I remember there was this came from every idea comes from a real conversation with a client who was like asking me about macros and blah 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 blah, and I'm telling him you need this, and we're writing it on the whiteboard, and then you divide by 4, and then you divide by 9 for fat, and and he's like, and he goes, well, what do you eat? And I'm like, I'm real lazy, so I just take like a couple pounds of beef and a couple cups of rice and some spinach and sweet potatoes, and I mix it all in a thing and I portion it out, and then I just eat that. I said, my wife calls it dog food. It's not that. I like it, but I like boring things. It's just it. And he looked at me and he goes, "Can you send me the recipe?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I sent him the recipe, and he was like, dude, this is what I just want someone to tell me what to eat, and I'll just eat it. And so that's the approach I decided to go with in the book, which is like, these are exactly the 4 meals. Here's how you make them. And then here's how you arrange them. If you're, a skinny guy, here's how you arrange them. If you're a average guy, and here's how you arrange them. If you're a fat. So they're 3 meal plans. And they each, I did the math, like I did the work behind the scenes to, so they each go up about 500 calories. But the idea is, look, pick one, eat it, see what happens on the scale. And then when it stops working and you're trying to bulk, go to the next one. And if you're trying to cut, go down one.
Right.
And so we're not talking about calories, we're talking about food.
Right.
And you're already, all it is we're just manipulating how much rice. So in one meal plan, you're eating 2 cups of rice, and in the next meal plan, you're eating 1.5, and maybe like you don't put peanut butter in your protein shake or something.
Right.
They're very small, but we're working with what you're already doing, and it's very concrete. And so I knew, like when I sent it to my editor, who wasn't a lifter at all, he's like, I would never do this. And I was like, oh God, this is a terrible idea. I shouldn't put this in the book. It's like, I should just go and do what everybody else does and do, here's how you calculate your macros and blah, blah, blah. And then you just have to invent. And I thought, no, I'm going to do this.
Well, you stayed true to the book.
Well, I realized this guy's not my target. Like, this guy's like a runner. He doesn't care about lifting. And so I did, but he did convince me to put in a sort of how to make a meal on the fly if you don't want to follow these exact meals that I lay out. And the ultimate goal with the meals is like, look, this is just a framework. This is a concept. If you don't want to think about this, eat these foods in these amounts and it will get you where you want to go. But we have a Reddit, like a subreddit, and guys are posting different recipes. And like, that's the idea, is pick an amount of food, eat it every day, watch what happens, and then adjust it up or down. And so if you're lazy like me and you don't want to think, here's exactly what to eat. If you want to spice it up and swap out oats for whatever, and
Yeah.
do it. Like there's some great recipes, guys. I was like, damn, I never thought about that. Some guys making like a honey glazed soy, whatever. Like I would never do that, but like, but yeah, that and then I put it out in the book, and I remember I started getting emails from young guys like my avatar, and they were like, dude, this is exactly what I needed. Just, I don't want to think about macros. I don't want to think about calories. Just tell me exactly what to eat and I'll eat it. And I got enough of those coming in that I knew like I made the right call. It's definitely not the right approach for everybody. Some people want the flexibility, but
Yeah.
I think there's enough guys out there who just don't want to think about it because the food is overwhelming, or it can be.
Yeah. It's the
So
hardest part to think about and to stick to for sure. But like I said,
yeah,
you stuck to the approach of the book, a practical plan to help average guys build awesome bodies. It doesn't say an individualized plan with tons of variety that factors in every single scenario to help this one specific guy. So yeah, it works for what it was supposed to be.
yeah, there are limitations, and you have to do sort of if you're going to tell everybody, if you're going to create a workout template or a food template, there's some generalization, but
Yeah.
at least it's a good starting point where I'm expecting that a guy will go, okay, like I see what he's doing here. I see the logic behind these meals or the structure of the meals. And now that I've been doing it for a couple months, I feel like I can tweak it a little bit. It's like,
Right. I
dude,
could
do it.
swap
And then
out chicken breasts and thighs
and
for
give me
beef.
the recipe, because I'll put out another book with. I'm not saying these are the most amazing meals at all. Like they're incredibly boring, but they take no time to cook and they get the job done. So
Book number 3 is going to be a recipe book. I can already tell, Paul.
oh,
After the
for
women's book.
sure. Yeah, we're gonna get no. There's the guys on Reddit are posting up, like I said, some really cool.
I'll have to check that
Some
out.
yeah. It's it's cool to see them riff on it.
Well,
But
we got to address a big elephant in the room here that really is probably the thing that keeps people from really getting results. We got the plan, but the mental game usually gets in the way of people staying consistent for long enough. So let's talk about all the stuff we got to do to stay consistent for long enough to see results. What are the main kind of mindset issues you see people run into, or what are some strategies to avoid them?
I mean, how long is this podcast?
Well, my
Still,
AirPods already beeped at me, so I probably need to switch over
oh,
to headphones in a minute. But I do want to
okay,
hear your opinion on this, because this is everything we've talked about so far is gold. Everybody has to
yeah.
do these things to get results, but it's the 6 inches between our ears that really keeps people from sticking with this stuff.
I think, and I think I probably differ than how some other people would answer this, but I don't think you can fake it. So I think you have to set the bar low, and I think you have to have a big goal of like I want to get in better shape. I want to deadlift 500, whatever. But I think you have to look at every day. You have to look for quick wins, you know, because it's a long process. And I think I wrote about in the book, if I can get a guy who commits for 3 months because he's excited, and you can get someone you can keep someone motivated for 3 months. It's not that hard. But if that guy at some point gets a compliment from the girl at Starbucks or the girl at his office, which I know is not allowed anymore, but a little like,
Hypothetically.
hey, have you been working out? Or like, hey, or she grabs your bike like a friend, like, ooh, what's that? Like grabs your dude, I got that guy for life. It's getting to that point. This happened with women all the time. Like my female clients, they're like, oh, I don't want to get bulky, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, just if I could get a butt compliment from a boyfriend or, a friend of theirs, it was like, what's going, like, your butt looks great in those jeans. Forget it. All this stuff about getting bulky goes out the window. And they're just like, I am a lifter now. Cause that's, so you, you have to, you have to experience those small victories, and you have to celebrate them,
Mm-hmm.
and be proud of yourself, but know going in, this isn't something that I'm just going to do for an outcome. It's more of a lifestyle thing.
Mm-hmm.
All of the mental game, that there's a lot in the book I write about, you know, how strategies for dealing. I mean, the cutting part that's just like setting up your environment for success with losing weight. But in terms of just sticking with something long enough, you learn kind of as you go. And if you the motivation comes from just compounding a bunch of small victories,
Mm-hmm.
and then looking and seeing the progress, which is why this program isn't there's I didn't none of nothing I wrote in this is revolutionary. I didn't invent any of it. I stole it from guys who stole it from guys who stole it from. It's just this the boring stuff that we know works. But if you take a bunch of boring stuff that we know works and you do it for long enough, you're going to see progress. And if you see progress, it's either going to motivate you to keep going or it's not.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing. And then if you can, if it just becomes a part of your life and what you do, and you like the small results you're getting and you keep going, it gets better and better. And then you don't even have to think about it. And then you get the mental stuff like we talked about earlier, where you're learning to grind, and you're learning and you're toughening yourself up. But that wasn't intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get into this thinking like, okay, I need to just like be an alpha male. So
Right.
just, this is the path, and I'm gonna wait 20 years to figure that out. No, you just like, I actually kind of like going to the gym, or I like hanging out with these guys at the gym, or I like what's happening to my body because I've been going to the gym. And then you look back in 20 years and you're like, man, I really learned a lot on that journey. So
Yeah.
keep the expectations realistic. Know that it's 5 pounds at a time. It's one, if you're trying to lose body fat, it's 1 pound at a time. There's no shortcuts. And, in terms of setting a date and a goal, is, even if it's an artificial one, is really powerful. So for me, I was thinking about cutting for a long time, but then when I knew I had to take a photo for the book, now there's a hard date. And that just, man, that snapped everything into focus.
Yeah.
Like, I'm taking a picture on this day and I got to look as good as I can in 3 months. So let's do this. If it's, a high school reunion, whatever, if it's your birthday, if you're going to Hawaii and you're going to have your shirt off, you can use little mental tricks like that to stay motivated. But you have to pick some kind of date for a cut, because you
Yeah.
can always start cutting tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and then never get anywhere. So you got that you have to trick yourself with. You have to shape your environment, get the junk food out. If the ice cream's not in the freezer and you have to drive to the store to get it, you're much less likely to give into a craving. So those little tactics are in the book, about especially dealing with cutting. But long-term motivation just for training in general is, I feel like you're either going to take to it or you're not. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can find a training partner or a community of people, even if it's online, if you can find a community online to get you past that point where most people quit, because
Yeah.
most people quit. Like,
Yeah.
literally, nobody wants to do this. That's why you walk around and most people look like shit. And I'm not trying to be, it's true. Just go to the grocery store. They don't look, because it's hard.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
you have to make it a priority, and you have to want to do it. And if wanting to get a girlfriend is the reason that you do it, great. If, I was talking to a guy on Twitter the other day who was posting about his mother losing like 100 pounds. And my first question with that every single time is, because I've had a lot of clients that came in after losing a lot of weight and then they want to get stronger. And I was like, tell me the moment. Tell me the moment that you had where this decision became concrete. Because everybody wants to lose 20 pounds. Everybody wants to lose 5 pounds, right? But someone who's lost 100 at a moment, and it's usually embarrassment.
mm,
They delay a flight because they can't find a seatbelt extender, And the guy next to you goes, well, I'm going to miss my daughter's soccer game because you're too fat.
Oh,
That person, that person is going to lose the weight
yeah.
because they're going to feel that. And, and that's it. And I mean, man, they're on fire.
Yeah.
But if you have, I mean, I'm sure you work with people all the time that have not had that moment, and they're I think I'm gonna lose 20 pounds, maybe five, whatever. It's like you're
Yeah.
not, I mean, you'll do it, but you're gonna gain 15 back because you have so my challenge, and I've always thought about this, is how do you give someone that moment?
Mm-hmm.
How do you scare the shit out of them? How do you, I mean, I don't want to, you can't embarrass your clients, but how do you create that? Because that fire is like, man, that those people are motivated
Yeah.
and they've all had it. Every
That's
single
a,
one has had it. And
that's a
I
tough
don't
one
know
to
the answer.
experience for somebody. Yeah. I don't know the answer for that either. That's a tough one.
Yeah. I was like, do I just shame them in my gym and embarrass? I was like, that's not going to be good for Yelp reviews, but what's the alternative, right? Because like, you know what they need to do and you can't do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the most frustrating part of when I was working one-on-one with people in a gym, is to have someone come to you crying because they are so frustrated with, they just are at rock bottom with they've, they gained more weight and they thought they were losing it, or they're, and they're just like, and then you tell them what to do and they go buy donuts.
Yeah.
And like, I had a guy who was diabetic, and he was on insulin, and he could not leave his job to start his own dream company because he needed the insurance. He
Mm.
couldn't take that risk. He always wanted to do his own thing, and he couldn't take that risk. And we sat down. I said, "Look, you're early type 2 diabetes, like, and like you can not have that disease.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have type 1, we can fix your diet, you can add muscle tissue, and we can get your blood sugar under control, and there's a high likelihood that you can get off the drugs and get rid of it, and then go and live this dream life that you want, that you fantasize about." And I bought him books on like the Atkins diet, and all this stuff, and we talked about it and went through what carbohydrates are and blood sugar and how it works. And we're not gonna, we're gonna, because if you're type 2, like, a low carb diet is a very good idea
Mm-hmm.
until you can get that under control, right? And he was like, "Yeah, motivated. All right." And then next week, I just asked him a question I would always ask clients, like, "Hey, what'd you have for breakfast?" And he goes, "Oh, waffles." And I was like, we talked about
Keto waffles or
we're not going to have whatever, because of the blood sugar, and we're going to get off the thing, and then you can start your business. And he just looked at me and he was like, "But I like waffles." And I was like, "Okay."
yeah,
That it's like, it hurts you
it's so
to
true, man.
put
That's the
that
code.
emotional, because you're doing with your clients online, right? Or in person, or with
Yeah.
your wife's gym. Like, every day you go in there and you invest this emotional labor into them. You care. You want them to succeed, and you have the tools to give them what they need, but they have to do it.
Yeah.
And man, after countless disappointments like that, because you feel like a failure. Like, what did I not convey to this guy and then you carry that around, like, oh, like, man, I failed this guy because I couldn't convince him to do this really important thing. And then eventually you realize, like, you can do your best, but they have to make the decision to do it.
I would
So
say, any coach that has never lost sleep over a client that's not doing what they know they need to do, then they're probably not a very good coach. And then you want it so bad for somebody and you try to jump through all these hoops. How can I, what approach can I take? What can I change to finally make them want to do the thing? But a lot of it comes back to, did they ever have that moment where they knew they had to make a change?
yeah, because that guy will change. I mean, there will be a day where he goes to the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and it may be too late.
Yeah.
It's like smoking. They say everybody quits.
Yeah.
You're
Good
gonna
point.
quit at some point, but is it real enough for you? Is it real enough for you to do it now while it's easier? So,
Yeah.
but for my target guy isn't in that world. He's,
Yeah.
so the motivation is a different thing. I don't need to scare him into,
Right.
it's more about let's start this process. And I think that's really what it is the biggest issue that the reason that most guys, in my experience, don't get the results they want is they're confused about what to do, especially now. There's way too much information coming at them all the time by a bunch of people who want to make a bunch of money and have to sell the new thing. The boring
Hmm.
thing is not proprietary. The boring thing is not fun. It's not. And so if you want to make a name for yourself in social media world, you have to be like this. Okay, you're gonna turn your wrist 3 degrees this way, and that's gonna just blow up. It's like, dude, worth
Yeah.
the fucking wait, man. Like, and so they're overwhelmed, confused about what to do, so they just pick nothing, or they program hop. They do
Yeah.
this guy's thing, and then they do this guy's thing, and then they do this guy's thing, and they don't stick with anything long enough to let it work, right?
Yeah.
And they don't pick a goal. They don't go, all right, look, I get it. I know that eventually I want to be ripped with abs at the beach, but in order to do that, I've got to spend a year getting big and strong and then do that.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm trying to lay out in the book is just look, this is how it works, man. It's not there's nothing flashy about it. It's just this is what you got to do. And it's boring. But if it resonates, that would, I guess it's information, just good information passed down. Like I said, this is nothing, none of
Yeah.
this is new
There's no,
information.
our EC Simkowski says there's nothing new in nutrition. It's the basics that
There's
continue
nothing
to
new in
work.
lifting either, right? It's
Right.
like, okay, you have okay, fine. We have like a tendo unit you can hang from your barbell and tell you how fast. Okay,
Right.
that's kind of cool, right? That's a cool thing, but you still have to do it.
Yeah.
You
But
still
did
have
you
to
lift
lift
more
it.
weight?
Right,
Well,
exactly. So
you do a good job of, presenting the basic information in an entertaining way in the book too. So I would encourage people to go grab it, even if this stuff is like, I don't know if I'm really going to be into it. You'll be entertained by the book and you'll definitely take away a lot of things that you can put into place.
no, thank you.
Well, I might even want to break this thing up into 2 episodes. This is so many good things. Where's the best place for people to buy the book for you to make the most money off of it? And where should people go to find out more about you, and to just connect with you online?
Sure. Well, the book was never intended to be a money-making enterprise, so I just did it the easiest way possible, which is through Amazon. So you can get it at Amazon. You can also get it on my friend Grant at the Strength Co. They make,
Mm-hmm.
barbells or plates and very cool company. So if you need the best plates in the industry, the Strength Co is where you go. And then you can also pick up a copy of my book. He has some copies for sale there, that or Amazon. And then my website is hornstrength.com. We also for guys that are interested in, you know, like you're doing this digital barbell thing, you're trying to come up with content. So every Friday we do what I call Form Check Friday. So we have a Reddit community. It's just Horn Strength. And every Wednesday we open up a submission thread so people can post videos and that they want me to form check. And then Friday, I just open it up, turn on the camera, and I just rip through 5 or 6 form checks, and then we post it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, if they want to get a form check for free, they can go there. Otherwise, there's more information on my website, and you can find me Twitter, Instagram. Just look for Horn Strength, and I'm
Awesome.
out there trying to be out there. It's exhausting.
It's a lot of
Right?
work, man.
Like, aren't you? But don't you? The other day I
Got to
just
be
hit a
everywhere.
wall. I was like, do I have to write another fucking tweet? Like, oh, like,
You don't
okay, what
you don't
brilliant
have
thing
to,
can I
but you
say?
should.
I know. And then I mean, I don't know if you figured it out, but you're just trying to post all this brilliant stuff that you think is useful and helpful, and you have no idea what's going to work. And then I posted a picture of a rotisserie chicken from Costco, and it was the most popular thing I've ever put on Twitter.
I told you
And
the recipe book is going to be the moneymaker.
I was like, you guys, I just gave you like a program, like how to fix your deadlift, how to optimize, and you care about this chicken? Like, I give up.
What kind
Like,
of seasonings on that chicken over there,
there
Paul?
was a whole debate about seed oils, and I was like,
Oh man.
this is the engagement. Like, okay, you guys, all right, so more rotisserie chicken bones. Like, it's a weird world out there, man.
It
God bless
is.
you guys for doing what you're doing.
It is,
And
man.
it's very, yeah, it's hard, especially
Yep,
there's so much noise. So if
it
you can
is.
cut through with good information, I think that's what we're both trying to do.
Yep, let's keep trying. All right, man. Well,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
appreciate your time. Everybody listen to this. Go pick up the book, Radically Simple Strength on Amazon. Follow Paul wherever you can. And I appreciate your time, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate
All
it.
right.